Before I give my picks for the final week of the regular season, I would like to encourage everyone to help support Damar Hamlin's fundraiser. If you would like to donate, click the link in the description. And now on to the video. Welcome back to Super Sports, and today I'll be making my NFL Week 18 predictions, following my 10-5 picks from last week. Remember to like and subscribe for more sports content. Without further ado, let's get into it. The Kansas City Chiefs travel to Las Vegas on Saturday, with the 1 seed still in play. The Las Vegas Raiders have found a new quarterback who gave the hottest team in football a run for their money. The Raiders have been eliminated from playoff contention, but will challenge the 13-3 Chiefs. Jarrett Stidham of the Raiders threw for 365 yards and 3 touchdowns last week against the 49ers. And his wide receiver, Davante Adams, racked up 153 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Chiefs' defense will have to stop Josh Jacobs, who rushed for 7.3 yards per carry during Kansas City's Week 5 win. The Chiefs' offense will be hard to stop, as they are leading the league in points per game this season, and Patrick Mahomes is leading the league in passing yards per game and passing touchdowns. Mahomes threw for 4 touchdowns against the Raiders in Week 5, and all 4 of them were to Travis Kelce. I think the Kansas City Chiefs will improve their odds of the first-round bye and will win 33-27. The Jacksonville Jaguars host the Tennessee Titans in what will be the AFC South Championship game. The winner of this game makes the playoffs, but the loser is eliminated from playoff contention. In Week 14, the Jaguars beat the Titans 36-22, with Jacksonville's Trevor Lawrence throwing for 3 touchdowns and 368 yards. Jaguars wide receiver Evan Ingram had a big game as well, with 162 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Titans' defense may struggle to contain Jacksonville's wide receivers, as they allow a 102.6 rating to wide receivers. However, the Titans have allowed only 3.4 yards per carry to running backs this season, but will need to contain Travis Etienne, who has rushed for over 1,100 yards. The Titans' offense will rely heavily on Derrick Henry, who has rushed for 4.5 yards per carry this season. The Titans do not have Ryan Tannehill, and Joshua Dobbs is starting this game. I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars will prevail in this game 27-13 and will win the AFC South over the Titans, mostly due to the Titans' major injuries. The Atlanta Falcons are at home this week to host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who clinched the NFC South last week. The Buccaneers have reasons to start Tom Brady, to build momentum with their passing game, and to keep Tom Brady from finishing under 500 for the first time in his career. Tom Brady had a great game against the Panthers, throwing for 432 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Atlanta Falcons' pass defense has allowed a 98.1 rating to wide receivers, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin could have another good performance, as they put up over 300 yards combined with the 3 touchdowns last week. Atlanta's Desmond Ridder had a 90.1 rating last week, and is facing a Tampa Bay defense that allowed over 325 yards. Tampa Bay's defense did handle the run well against the Panthers, allowing only 3.4 yards per carry, but the Buccaneers will need to contain Falcons rookie Tyler Algier, who has 900 rushing yards on the season. I think the Buccaneers will win this game 23-20. For the last week of their season, the New England Patriots travel to Buffalo, with the playoffs on the line. If the Patriots win on Sunday, they reach the playoffs, but the Bills will not make it easy. The Patriots and Bills last played each other during Week 13, with the Bills' defense leading Buffalo to a 24-10 victory. The Bills held Mac Jones to under 200 yards and an 84.8 rating. In New England's win last week, Mac Jones played well, posting a 98.4 rating with 203 yards. Both pass defenses are some of the best in the league, with both teams in the top 5 for rating allowed. The Bills' defense is second in the league in points allowed and first in the red zone. The Patriots' defense will have to face an offense that is top 5 in points per game and top 10 in red zone. Josh Allen threw for 203 yards in their win over the Patriots in Week 13, with 2 touchdowns. His receiver, Stephon Diggs, had 92 receiving yards on 7 catches. However, Josh Allen had 5 sub-90 rating games in his last 8 full games. The Bills will win this game for number 3 by a score of 30-20. The Minnesota Vikings face the Chicago Bears on the road to finish their season, after an embarrassing loss to the Packers. Kirk Cousins lost a fumble and had 3 interceptions, while Justin Jefferson only had 1 catch for 15 yards. The Bears defense allowed 41 points to the Lions, and is the perfect opportunity for Minnesota to bounce back and win. In their last matchup, the Vikings won 29-22, with NFL receiving yard leader Justin Jefferson putting up 154 receiving yards. Kirk Cousins also threw for almost 300 yards, along with Dalvin Cook rushing for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. Bears quarterback Justin Fields was only 64 yards away from the QB rush record set by Lamar Jackson, but has been ruled out from this game, meaning Nathan Peterman will start. I believe the Vikings will bounce back 30-16 simply due to a missing Justin Fields. The Baltimore Ravens travel to Cincinnati to conclude their regular season. The Cincinnati Bengals are AFC North champions after Damar Hamlin's injury, but Ravens' victory means that there will be a coin flip for home field advantage if they face each other in the playoffs. Back in Week 5, the Ravens defeated the Bengals at home 19-17, with Baltimore's defense leading the way. The Ravens' defense is 3rd in points per game this season, and 2nd in red zone defense. The Bengals' offense has been great this season, as 3 players have over 700 receiving yards. Joe Burrow has 34 touchdowns and has a completion percentage of just under 70. The Ravens' offense has not been successful recently, mostly due to an injured Lamar Jackson, who has been ruled out once again. Tyler Huntley will make the start, but he has not thrown for over 140 yards in all 4 starts. However, the Ravens' offense is based around the run, and J.K. Dobbins has rushed for over 4.9 yards per carry in 4 straight games. The Bengals should easily win this game 27-17. The Houston Texans are on the road to finish their season in Indianapolis. Both teams might not want to win, as it may cost them a later draft pick. In Week 1, the 2 teams faced in Houston, which ended in a 20-20 tie. Both teams have only scored 16.1 points per game this season, and both defenses are some of the worst in points per game allowed. Both teams have also been some of the worst rush offenses in the league as well. The Colts have not been great when defending the pass, but the Texans may struggle to keep their quarterback upright due to the Colts' pass rush. Houston has been good at defending the pass, but not so good at defending the run, so Zach Moss could have a strong performance. I think the Colts will win this game 16-13, since the Texans' win could cost them the first overall pick. The Miami Dolphins host the New York Jets this week, coming off a 5-game losing streak. To make the playoffs, the Dolphins need a win and a New England loss. Both Tua Tagovailoa and Teddy Bridgewater are hurt, giving rookie Skylar Thompson the start. The Dolphins' 2 main receivers, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, were both held under 60 yards last week in their loss. Both Hill and Waddle have had an amazing season, with both receivers recording over 1,300 yards. The Jets may rely heavily on their pass defense, who are leading the league in rating allowed, and 2nd in yards per attempt. However, their run defense allowed almost 200 yards in their loss last week, allowing 5.2 per carry. Dolphins' Raheem Mostert has provided 820 rushing yards on 4.8 per carry. The Jets' offense has gone 8 quarters without a touchdown, with last week's game consisting of 2 interceptions and a 47.4 rating. I believe the Dolphins will prevail 20-16 and will get a postseason spot. The Carolina Panthers are off to New Orleans to face the Saints, who have been eliminated from the playoffs despite winning 3 straight games. The Saints defense has held its opponents to under 21 points for 7 straight, and has held quarterbacks to 63.2 rating in its last 4 games. Last Sunday, the Saints did allow 2 receivers to get 97-plus yards and gave up a touchdown. Panthers quarterback Sam Darnold had a solid performance against the Buccaneers in their loss, posting a 108.1 rating, with 341 yards and 3 touchdowns. DJ Moore had a great game too, receiving for 117 yards. The Saints offense needs to score just enough to sneak away with the win, as Andy Dalton threw for over 200 yards but no touchdowns and 1 interception. This week, Andy Dalton is facing a defense that was torched by Tampa's receivers and allowed over 400 yards. The Panthers are not amazing at defending the run, meaning Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill can take advantage. The Saints will finish their season with a 24-23 win. The Steelers finished their season against the Browns, with their playoff hopes still alive. The Pittsburgh Steelers are also playing for their coach, who has never had a sub-500 season ever. When Pittsburgh TJ Watt is playing, the Steelers have a 7-2 record this season, compared to a 1-6 record without him. TJ Watt and the Steelers defense has held opponents to 17 points or fewer in their last 6 games, and no quarterback has thrown for over 190 yards in any of those 6 games. Deshaun Watson is coming off his best game as a Brown, throwing for 3 touchdowns with a 122.5 rating. Watson did not play when Cleveland beat Pittsburgh in Week 3, 29-17. Watt was gone, but Nick Chubb hit the Steelers for 113 yards on the ground, and had 100 plus last week as well. The Steelers' rush defense has struggled to contain J.K. Dobbins last week, giving up 5.5 yards per carry. The Steelers' rush offense did play well, with Jalen Ward and Najee Harris leading Pittsburgh to a win. Kenny Pickett did not do much against the Ravens, but he came up big when it counted. He will once again face a tough defense this week, and will have to face pass rusher Myles Garrett, who has recorded 15 sacks this season. I believe the Steelers will win 20-17, continuing their coach's streak. The Eagles wrap up their season versus the New York Giants, trying to clinch the NFC's first seed with a win. The Giants are the 6th seed no matter what, and Daniel Jones has been performing well. Daniel Jones threw for 2 touchdowns, while rushing for 2 more, along with throwing for a 125.2 rating last week. And wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins has a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games. Richie James is also coming off back-to-back 75-plus receiving yard games for the Giants. Back in Week 14, the Eagles dominated the Giants 48-22, and Jalen Hurts will be back for the Eagles. A.J. Brown had 4 receptions for 97 yards last week with a touchdown, and Devontae Smith had 115 yards. Jalen Hurts has been rushing for 4.8 yards per carry this season, and has 53.4 yards per game. Him and Miles Sanders destroyed the Giants in their last meeting, rushing for 221 yards. I think the Eagles will come out on top 31-20. Cowboys' Dak Prescott has thrown 14 interceptions despite missing a few games, but CeeDee Lamb has 100-plus receiving yards in 3 straight games. I believe the Cowboys will get a comfortable victory. The Denver Broncos end their very disappointing season at home against the Chargers, who ride in on a 4-game win streak. Justin Herbert led the Chargers to a victory over the Rams, throwing for 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 119.9 rating. Mike Williams had 94 receiving yards in their win, and Keenan Allen got 60. Austin Eckler ran for 122 yards last week, for 12.2 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Denver's defense has kept the Broncos in many games this season, but in their last 2, they have allowed a 100-plus rating. Russell Wilson had 222 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception last week, with an 81.2 rating. I think the Chargers will remain with the 5th seed in the AFC with a 24-17 win. The Los Angeles Rams head to Seattle to face the Seahawks on Sunday. The Rams have nothing on the line, but the Seahawks do after a huge win over the Jets. If the Seahawks win and Detroit beats Green Bay, they make the playoffs. Geno Smith had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions against an elite defense last week. The Rams have not been good at defending the pass this season, as they have allowed a 92.2 rating. In Week 13, the Seahawks beat the Rams 27-23, with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf both receiving for 127-plus yards. Kenneth Walker has had back-to-back 100-plus yard games, and the Rams did not handle Austin Eckler last week well. The Seahawks pass defense intercepted Mike White twice and did not allow any touchdowns. Baker Mayfield has not been bad with the Rams, but they have not scored over 18 points in 3 of their last 4 games. 23-20 Seahawks is my pick. The Arizona Cardinals are in San Francisco to end their season against the 49ers, who are riding a 9-game win streak. The Cardinals have nothing on their line and have lost 6 straight. The Cardinals' defense is at the bottom of the league, and the Cardinals' offense has used 4 quarterbacks this season. This is J.J. Watt's final game, and he has 10.5 sacks on the season. Brock Purdy went for 284 yards with 2 touchdowns against the Raiders at a mid-90s rating. Brandon Ayuk, CMC, and George Kittle were all part of the 49ers passing game, and Christian McCaffrey also had 121 yards on the ground. The 49ers want to find their defensive footing before the playoffs because they allowed 3 touchdowns and over 350 yards last week, which is much more than they typically allow. The 49ers will win easily 31-10. The Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers face off with playoffs on the line. The Packers make the playoffs if they win, but the Lions will have to win and hope the Seahawks lose. The Green Bay defense has held its opponents to under 21 points in its last 4 games, but the Lions offense has scored 27.1 points per game this season. Jared Goff had an excellent performance versus the Bears, throwing for 255 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 133.5 rating. The challenge he faces is a Green Bay defense that dominated the Vikings' offense last week, intercepting Kirk Cousins 3 times. They also held Justin Jefferson to 1 catch for 15 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been Goff's number 1 receiver, and he has over 1,100 yards on the season. The Lions' run game was great last week, with Jamal Williams rushing for 114 yards and DeAndre Swift rushing for 78. The Packers' run defense has not been great, allowing 5 yards per carry to running backs. Green Bay's run game was also solid, as they rushed for 163 yards in their victory. Detroit's play versus the pass hasn't been good, with a mid-90s rating allowed. I will take the Lions as underdogs, 31-28. Thank you for watching to the end of my NFL Week 18 predictions. Like and subscribe for more sports content, and comment your picks down in the comments.